I don't foresee him being here for in the very not near future per se, but he's just resume building at this point. This is just another thing for him to add to it so he can move on to greener pastures, if you will.
Well, I mean, and the Baylor AD job just come open. So, I mean, maybe it's one of those things that, hey, he's trying out. We'll see what happens. You, as much as we want to pick on him, he is still representation of Arkansas, So that's where I guess we could sit here and poke fun at it and be karma, but can't be too hard on the guy because it's still drawing negative attention to Arkansas, but it does feel good. I'm sorry. It's one of those things that you want to plant your little propaganda and you want them to say what they want to say and be positive and lie to us about, we're going 9-3 and, Sam Pittman's doing that. Then you got your Sports Illustrated, they put out all these articles and they're running right there with you. And as soon as the people really step up and try to tell it how it is, you get slapped on the hand. So maybe it's one of them, he deserves it.
Well, Hunter's a good guy, but he doesn't know how to run a program. It's kind of goes hand in hand with, the previous head football coach. He's a good guy, but he's not a head football coach. Hunter Yurachek is clearly he's a decent businessman for the fact of, our Arkansas athletic department's been in the black for, a number of years. It's just, the jury's still out on the whole Blueprint Sports or whatever it's called.
We don't know what's happening.
We don't know because, they won't release those, the contract, if you will. It's crazy. We get other documents being released, but we can't get a contract between a school and an NIL company.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's because, it goes a part of why do you think they wanted the raffle going to the foundation? You can't. Why do you think we're talking about governors getting involved in this? That is just if you want to talk about following the breadcrumbs and you want to talk about following where college football is heading, Sarah Huckabee Sanders getting involved in the raffle, LSU's governor getting involved in their politics. Now you're seeing corporations where they're going to have these collective NILs and these agreements and these big, corporations getting involved in that. They see what is coming up. They see what is going to happen with this new college football. And I'm telling you, if it goes where we think it's going, don't laugh at a 2014 playoff. Don't laugh at the fact that as soon as I said, or they said they were coming out where players are getting paid, I'm like, okay, they're going to want them to play more games. Hence, we have a pause.
I don't even know if it's actually live yet.
It
starts in 3 days, so we're not going to have one this weekend. Wow. So the Missouri one will be the last one of the football season.
But that's crazy. You think they would continue it to get people to, 2 weeks but they don't care.
No.
But what I was getting at is people are going to follow the money. And if they can see a way of funneling money into these corporations or these people that are retiring from their jobs, starting to get into the NIL game and make money off of it, why not? But follow the crumbs. Start seeing who's getting involved in this stuff with the NIL. Why do you think that bigwig down in Texas Tech you think he's just pissing away millions of dollars a year? He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might not be getting it from the simple aspect of an ROI out of the players itself, but he's getting something somewhere. Millionaires aren't stupid. They're not just going to give away money.
Oh, and we're going to be seeing it, which, this is all still early, all still preliminary, all still just kind of behind the scenes talk. But, with whoever the coach is coming in, there's a NIL initiative push. Is it directly coming from the Walmart name? No, it is not. Is it coming with somebody directly tied to Walmart? Yes, it is. Is it that person retiring at the end of the year? Yes, he is. So there's things that are happening. They're just not going to be. We're not going to have full details for a little while.
Mhm.
But all the promises that we've been told that supposedly coaches are being told is, like we've said previously, this current football roster got around 16 million in NIL, which sorry, you overpaid for a 2-10 season if that's what it ends up being. And you overpaid for a 2-8 season at this point. Um, but they're saying that, hey, we're going to double to triple that. So you're looking at 32 to 48 million. So we'll just say $40 million to NIL. Okay, so you're finally ponying up to play. And it's one of those, they've all come out and said, or Pittman and Juracek, he wasn't given the resources. 100% agree. He was not given the resources. But at the same time, that can't be your excuse for it. So now, this the next coach, whoever it may be coming in, yes, you will have, from what we're all being told, the likes of $40+ million to work with. I think that that's kind of your bare minimum start. That's where you need to be starting at to play ball, if you will.
Well, and to add to that real
Mhm.
quick, if you're going to be rebuilding your whole damn team,
Mhm.
you better start with 40.
Yeah, because you're going to have to get, portal guys that can come in and are ready to play and ready to contribute. Um, so we'll see what happens with the NIL stuff in the coming months. But is Gus really an option? I've never thought that Gus would really be an option. I've heard his name thrown out a few times. It's one of those things. I think the ship with Gus Malzahn has sailed. There's still people with the board, within the state of Arkansas, fans, whoever, that they want to go ahead and finally make it happen, if you will. I'm not one of those people. I'm not saying. Gus is a great offensive mind. I think he's, for where he's at right now, and this isn't a shot at him or anything. I think that he is rightfully suited as an offensive coordinator at a high program. I think that Bobby Petrino is in that same conversation of being a better fit as an offensive coordinator than running a top program or a program in a top conference, however you want to play it. Whether Dillingham or Mario Cristobal, I know his name has been thrown out by a couple over on Twitter the past day or two. I don't know about either one of those. I think there's potentially some more smoke coming up with Dillingham's name. It still goes back to, kind of what we heard in the early days of this after Pittman was fired, that Dillingham would kind of be using Arkansas's opening to get more money for himself out of Arizona State. But then here we see again Dillingham in press conferences once again kind of having issues with NIL and what his players are getting for NIL and these different ideas. So he's frustrated there. So maybe that's something that's going to pull him away from Arizona State. Cliff Kingsbury's a name that I've thrown out a few times that, I know a lot of people have talked about Eric Morris in North Texas. It's one of those things. I'm not knocking Eric Morris by any means, but if you give me two coaches from the same coaching tree, yes. Now, before I go forward with this, I know that Cliff Kingsbury's college record is not that great. He's right above 500, I believe. But when people are coming in talking about Eric Morris and the quarterbacks that he's had a hand in either recruiting or developing, Cliff Kingsbury's right there with the same ones. And then we're going to add in Cliff Kingsbury's NFL experience. And then right now, when he's not injured, he's coaching Jaden Daniels. And, Jaden Daniels, Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. So if you gave me the option of Cliff Kingsbury or Eric Morris head to head, hey, you get to pick either one, I'd go Cliff Kingsbury every single time. So it's one of those, I think all that's still up in the air. We've seen the posts that have come out with Alex Golish, and he kind of, is it coach speak, or is he truly happy with staying with where he's at USF for the time being? I think a lot is going to be in play for a lot of these coaches because we've seen Tulane kind of do the same thing and John Summerall do the same thing after the Florida interview was canceled. of similar posts from Tulane. And I kind of look at it, I think a lot of things will be determined when Lane Kiffin decides if he is staying at Ole Miss or not. I think he is the kind of key in all that. He's the first domino you'll then see a lot of things happen afterwards. Because then if Ole Miss does open up, he goes to, we'll say, Florida. Then does John Summerall look at Ole Miss, or is he looking at Auburn? Because he is from the state of Alabama. So I think things start to start to fall after Lane Kiffin makes his decision.
Well, and if he does leave, how does that drop Ole Miss job down below Arkansas? Because I mean, where's Ole Miss with money, and where are they at with getting somebody else to come in and replicate what Lane Kiffin did? I mean, that's a question you have to ask. I mean, and it's not just an easy, well, he's going to Florida, so now whoever was going to go to Florida will automatically go to Ole Miss. It really doesn't transition like that when it comes to Ole Miss. I mean, if you want to go program for program, yes, Ole Miss has the better program right now. That's without Lane and without his players and his system. What do you have? And you brought up Cliff Kingsbury. He might have not have been a good college coach then. This is a new era. This is a new, you're dealing with different types of college players now. It's more of a professional semi-pro league. You're dealing with people coming in making more than you. Who does best at that? NFL type coaches and coaches and staff. They're used to coaching people who are making 10 times as much as they are. So you get somebody who knows how to coach an NFL player, that system, the business aspect of it, because you're dealing not with NIL, but endorsements and, press conferences and all this stuff. You bring somebody like that in, it could help. It could really help, navigate being a head coach, because he knows how to coach those players.
So, and I saw in the comments here about, no way that Mario Cristobal, I would never even, that name never even crossed my mind. It was just somebody threw it out a day or two ago. But I think we're in this boat of throwing out any possibility, and a lot of people are doing it just to grab attention, if you will.
Yeah.
They hear
we've been talking about this for 2 months, and this is where another thing where I got irritated at the ones that were calling the people out. We've been doing this for 2 months, and it's been tight knit. And it's nobody is saying anything that really knows. And there might be a few people that's connected that's letting out small little traces, little drips, little leaks, but nobody is saying anything. And I think that's the best, because that proves to me that either it's somebody currently coaching somewhere that, they've been talking and they don't want anything leaked because it will blow everything up. Because if this person is coaching and they have a chance, not say to go to the college football playoff, but to get somewhere, to get their bonus at their previous school, they don't want to blow their game up,
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it is just wear and tear on the media, wear and tear on the fans. They're ready to hear this when the coach is probably either coaching right now, or it's just somebody who they're not in a position for it to be said right now. So we really got to wait and to be patient on it. If you want the best coach that's the best fit for this, it's best to wait until it's the right time, or you're going to be stuck with the C level, D level coach. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time, you can't afford to miss with this. And I really applaud whoever is over this, the board of trustees. I really applaud them for not letting this get leaked out. That shows me they know how important this hire is. And if you are asking people to do this new NIL fund, if you are asking people to really put their millions of dollars, I guarantee you they're saying, look, I'm going to give this, but you better go get the right guy. It better stay quiet. And the talks about Dabo, look, he's not coming. You don't want him. I'm sorry. I can't. You see what happened to Clemson. He won 2 national championships, and now they're a mediocre team because he's not going to embrace the NIL. He's going to make it about himself. And we don't know what's going to happen with Hunter. I mean, It could be one of them things that I'm eating crow, and he could still turn this thing into a hell of a program if he has the NIL. He embraces it. He kind of does. He stays in his lane, and he lets the moneymakers make the decisions. So, and Dabo is Dookie, exactly, because he's just post the national champions. And you could say Ed O's a good coach. What did he do post 2019? You see national championships and you automatically think it's going to transition to we're a different game now. Look at Ryan Day. Couldn't sniff it, couldn't get to the top. NIL comes in. He buys himself a $22 million roster. He wins a national championship.
It's all, I mean, I think a lot of it is what is going to garner the most interactions, most engagements, and most views. When it comes to a lot of the posts and things of that nature, because we've gotten to a point that it's more about getting the views than it is talking about what's actually, I guess, going on. Or this, I mean, I would rather sit and listen, I guess, to somebody being truthful and let's talk about all of this that's being thrown out there versus I'm just going to start throwing names at a wall and hope that one of them sticks, because that's what we've seen a lot of with any coaching search. And then a lot of your national, your larger media guys, here's the thing too with them. They know that, especially in a time like this right now, they can post just about anything that has to do with Arkansas, and Arkansas fans are going to bite on it. And they're going to be all over the comments. They're going to be sharing on it. They're going to be just, I mean, honestly, feeding into the algorithms that pay a lot of these people, and that they're getting their money's worth anytime something is going on at Arkansas. So, right now, I would say after, just talking the past few days off and on, doing our blind resumes on Hog HQ, us talking right now, I'm going with, if I had to pick one guy right now that I think is feasible and that I would bet on, I'm going to go with Cliff Kingsbury right here, right now. Don't know if it's going to happen. I could be totally off base with it, but I'm going with Cliff Kingsbury to be the next coach at Arkansas, and I could be totally off base.
It's tough because, like you said it perfectly, fans, listeners, look, Adam and I do this. This is not our main job, but there's people who this is their main job. They do daily shows. They do daily articles. They're at the press conferences. They do the work, so they're having to talk. They're having to come up with daily content. You can't fault them because they're doing their job, but they are honest about it. Now, these ones that just throw up 8 to 10 articles a day and then they're wrong and backtrack and then let's throw this guy out there. They're not throwing scenarios. They're just throwing mess on a wall. They're doing it. And then you have people who start out, you think they start out strong and then they reveal themselves. They are a trusted source, and then they're not the same. They can't take the height of their career with them because they come out of hiding. Now they're not the same. So they're trying to get all the reactions from when they were anonymous. Now they're not. It's not the same. You got people that come out and, plane tracking. Now they're not plane tracking, and then they're just throwing the stuff out on the wall, doing it on purpose for clicks. That's what it's like. Gets to me is they're doing it on purpose, knowing they're wrong. So there's levels to what you see. There's people that are putting out articles for clicks because they don't care. As long as you click on it, they're getting paid and they're putting out everything, and then they'll backtrack. Then you have people that are just out there doing nonsense because what their first try didn't work. But, and all due respect to this guy, he does great work, Aaron Torres. He made his own Twitter page, Torres on Arkansas, because he knew anytime he talked about Arkansas, it got so, but he's legit on what he says. But it just goes to the fact that if you mention Arkansas, it clicks, it happens. So everybody converges on it. And you can't hate on the guy for doing it, but that's what happens. It's easy. If Brandon Walker mentions Brandon Marcello and mentions Arkansas, it's going to blow up. We're in that waiting game where we're waiting on that news to break. We're waiting on the smokestack to come from the stadium. So we don't know, because there has been so many names to come out, and you're seeing who could go there, but it's just tough, Adam, because of the state that who can you trust that can totally rebuild an SEC program going to 9 games next year? That's my biggest thing, is to really look and see who that person is. And I don't think Dabo is the guy for it. I don't think Gus is the guy for it. There's people throwing out Matt Campbell's name. I don't think he's the guy for it, because this is a whole different ball game of what you're having to do in the rebuild. You're going to come in on a concrete foundation and have to build this thing up, and then be the one that is going to get the money people behind you.
Mm-hmm. You know, I agree with the comment too, that we're all just ready for it. And yes, no matter who and when that person is named as the new head coach at the University of Arkansas, yes, there's still going to be a bunch of folks that aren't happy or complain. We should have got this guy. We should have got that guy. This guy's not going to work. That guy's not going to work, whatever. But, you know, I think that you'll have more people, and I could be wrong here, but you'll have more people unhappy if you whiff to the point that you go with your backup plan in keeping Bobby Petrino as the head coach, because that's still on the table. And I think that if it gets to that point, and again, I've said this before, I am not coming at Petrino in any way, shape, or form. I am in the boat of, like I've said from day one, stop going with former coaches that have been here before in whatever capacity. I appreciate, you know, I'm glad that Coach Petrino got to come back to Arkansas to try to mend the fences, to build that relationship back. But at the same time, it's just I want a whole new regime, for, like I've said, from top to bottom. So I think it's one of those that if you end up with your fallback plan, which is Bobby Petrino, then I think that you have failed as a search committee, as a athletic director, as a board that it has came to that.
Yeah. I think too, you can add another name to that list. I think if you add John Gruden to that list, I think that's the same, because there's a lot of people that are on board with him. And to me, it's just a social media show. I think it's a circus. I mean, he gets up and hypes, and he, you know, unboxes his things, and he does this. I can't get down with the whole John Gruden thing. There's a lot of people, and that's where you don't know. There's a lot of people mentioning it, but then there's a lot of people saying that's just a smoke screen. To me, I wouldn't be mad if it was a guy like Golish or Summerall, you know, somebody who, and if, you know, the reports are true, you know, you look at what was tweeted out today, if USF gets there and knocks him down and they negotiate a deal to keep him, you're in that, you know, in a weaker conference where you can go undefeated and get a chance to the college football playoff. He might stay, but he might want the challenge. I like him because he's a no nonsense guy. I think you know, you're talking about having the fortitude to come in and rebuild a program. I think he can do it. I did see some comment about, it was about Matt Campbell. Harder to win at Iowa State than Arkansas. That's rubbish. You cannot sit here and tell me winning in the Big 12 is harder than going to a 9-game SEC season and saying it's harder to win. I'm sorry. Have to completely disagree with that comment.
Yeah. You know, I think that Matt Campbell is a name that I think a lot of us were throwing out there before Pittman, and then it didn't happen. I personally think that Matt Campbell's content staying at Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as many people that want to throw out his name or whatever, I think it's a matter of, does he even want to leave Iowa State? I feel like that he's content there. Not that I personally would know or whatever. I'm uploading something right quick,
Well,
but
that's the thing you can think about, though. How much does that scare coaches coming in, knowing that the SEC is going to 9 games? The SEC is going to get tougher. You already know your 3 permanent opponents is going to be Missouri, Texas, and Ole Miss. I mean, not Ole Miss, Missouri, Texas, and LSU. Sorry. But if you know those are your 3 permanent opponents, and then you have 6 more SEC games, it's going to take somebody that is ready for the challenge. That's why I like Golish. And I think if, USF is trying to get something going to keep him, either Arkansas needs to up their ante or try to go get him, or they already got their guy in place. And I don't know. I think that's a product of whoever's running this search, whoever's in charge is doing a good job of keeping it tight-lipped. And when we do find out, I hope it's one of them home run hires. I really do hope it's one of those that is going to, one, boost the fan base and get everybody charged up, because if it's not, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to affect the motivation going into next season.
well, I would say that the last, probably weekish. I guess since the James Franklin to Virginia Tech kind of all but came official as last weekend or whatever. There's been kind of rumblings like Arkansas's got their guy. They're not naming it, or they're not throwing it out who. Which I hear this. Some others have heard this, and it's like, okay, are you not wanting to put a name out there because the only thing I could come up with is he's coaching somewhere right now, and so you wait until December to make that announcement. But then I still see that they're still interviewing here and there. And I'm like, you don't have your guy if we're still hearing about interviews. So it's just one of those things. It doesn't sit well with me, just where we're at with it. But the only thing that I could hope for is the reason that we haven't is because it's a sitting head coach.
Yeah,
on a team. But you would think though, if it's on a team that still is fighting for something at this point in their season, it would more than likely be somebody from a smaller conference, which would be along those lines of a Golish or Eric Morris. Or, because we all know that Arkansas interviewed Will Stein, offensive coordinator at Oregon. And I just think that if it was going to be a coordinator from another school, you would hear it, you would know it immediately.
Yeah.
So right now, I think that if they have their guy, it's a sitting head coach. I think if that's the case, it's somebody from a smaller school. And then you're looking at, okay, well, that's Morris or that's Golish or Summerall.
Yep.
So it still leaves everything open for speculation at this point, though.
Yeah, and the Oregon coach. Look, you're in the Big Ten. You're at the top of the Big Ten. You have Nike in your backyard. You got NIL. I mean, Dan Lanning found his job. He went from Georgia to Oregon. You're not leaving that situation for Arkansas. It's just one of those things that's not going to happen. If Arkansas maybe was in a position, let's say Lane Kiffin had Ole Miss rolling, and then he wanted to transition, go to a better job, say like LSU or whatever, and Lanning's like, okay, they got their stuff together. It's a 10-win team. Maybe it won't be harder, but the complete rebuild, that's a pipe dream. I mean, Lanning, he's good where he's at. Mm-hmm. He's got Ohio State really and Indiana really to worry about, and so maybe 3 teams really if Michigan comes back up or, whoever. But if you're looking at the Big Ten, you've got 3 teams to worry about. Big 12, 3 teams to worry about. It's not the same. And yes, USC's coming up. So you add them this year. Are they going to be there next year? Or they are. There's 4. SEC's got 6, 7 teams you have to worry about beating, or you have to worry about taking your spot in the SEC. So it's I never really realized it until like this is the first year I've really, because I've always, past years, I'm an ACC guy, and always showed the bias. But now I'm really, you take the hat off and you're like, and you're seeing these games and you're seeing how, like OU beating Alabama and how physical they are. There's teams that you want to stack conference for conference. I'm not saying SEC would go 16-0 against the Big Ten or ACC or whatever, but they would win a majority. I mean, easy 8, 9, 10 of those games.
Yeah, and this, Lane Kiffin brings in a bunch of guys every year. I mean, one thing that Lane has talked about before that they do as a coaching staff is essentially like the beginning of the year, each coach, I think it was position coach, whatever, all the coaches have a list of players that they watch throughout the season. And the second one of those players hits the portal, they're on them, which I still feel like there's a little bit of word I'm looking more tampering going on. So I think there may be some birds in there, in those players' ears before then. Anything that Lane Kiffin does from here on out, and I think some folks are in agreement here, I think all roads lead back eventually to Alabama for Lane Kiffin.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it's anytime soon, but I felt like for a while that all Lane Kiffin's future, whether it's retirement or however it pans out, I think that Lane Kiffin wants his shot to coach LSU or to coach Alabama. We're just seeing a lot more him talk about the things that he learned under Nick Saban, and that he's now like using and utilizing the knowledge and whatnot that he was given. And I think that it's one of those that he wants to see what it's like to be the guy at Alabama and try to have just a glimmer of the success that Nick Saban had there. Not saying that he would get that, but to be able to go in and potentially win one national championship at Alabama for Lane Kiffin could be what all he wants.
Yeah, because nobody's ever going to be what Saban.
No,
you're not going to have 6 national or 4 national championships in a span of 10 years, or you're not going to have that anymore in this landscape of college football. But you brought up a good point, him wanting to go there. And Alabama has the same kind of expectations as LSU when it comes to if you don't have 10 wins. No, it's if you don't win a national championship in X amount of years, you're gone. That's the standard. So if, DeBoer doesn't do it in the next couple of years, so does Lane want to stay at Ole Miss and ride it out for a couple of years and then go there? Or is he going to go somewhere else and then jump ship? I don't know. And a lot of people they know how much of a troll he is, but I think they don't underestimate the level of trolling he will do. I mean, he's an expert troll. So what if he's sending his family to both spots just to sit there and be like, yeah, let's get them talking. I'm gonna stay here at Ole Miss because I know DeBoer's not going to be there for another 5-6 years unless he starts getting to the national championship game and win it. I don't think he's going to do it. So he knows that's coming up. So Adam, why would you go put the stress of having to rebuild somewhere else if you're content where you're at, knowing that, hey, I'm probably going to be first choice to be the next Alabama head coach?
And I've had that same thought, like all the Lane to Florida talk. I just didn't quite understand, I guess. I was just kind of like, why would he go there? Why would he end up coaching Florida? LSU, I feel like would be one of those things that I could see just because it's LSU, bigger profile, but he doesn't have to leave Ole Miss to get to Alabama if that's his end game.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got the money at Ole Miss. He's going to get paid regardless at Ole Miss. So unless he's just bored there, I don't think that he leaves there, especially too. I mean, who's to say that, they're not going to get a good draw in the playoff, and who's to say that Lane Kiffin doesn't get them to, the Final Four national championship? Then why would you leave Ole Miss if you've finally gotten to that point? unless it's just truly because you want a new challenge.
Yeah. It's funny, money, now that there's big money and buyouts involved, you don't know what an extra 2-3 million can do to somebody. That's just how it is. But the question to be asked is, would you take Lane Kiffin if he was to come to Arkansas? Would you take Lane Kiffin and he brought the Ole Miss success, but knowing it was only going to last 3 years? Not promising a national championship, but if he could promise you 9-10 wins a year, would you take that knowing he was going to bolt when the Alabama job came open?
I think it depends on how far down you feel like your program is at. Are you going to benefit after he leaves, or are you going to end up back where you were before he got there? I think I think that you, like with where Arkansas is at right now, let's just say if he wanted to come here finally, whatever. I would take it if I knew that in 3 or 4 years he was going to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think everybody, majority, not saying all, there's going to be a lot that would not, but I
there's
think
a lot of folks in that one
those,
large group that they want Bobby Petrino over Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, that was and it was funny, even in, like, I posted it on the Hog Talk Facebook page, and even in those comments, there was a lot of people give him this, dude. Look, he don't want the headache. He can't handle the headache of a 9-game SEC. The biggest argument I've made and said, everybody talks about it, Sam's players, it's this and that. He couldn't beat Mississippi State. He couldn't beat Auburn. He couldn't. If this is in reference to the LSU, I posted there was a poll with over 500 votes on it, and 333 people said Bobby Petrino, and 200 people said Lane Kiffin. So, I mean, there's a lot of people. So I don't know, but for what it's worth, I mean, if we want to entertain the Campbell thing, I mean, he's 45 years old. He won 11 games last year at Iowa State, 6-4 right now. It's where do you want to take this program, and what can he do if the boosters, somebody had a comment, if that's who the boosters want and they're a good enough coach and you can get the success, I would be that. I would be like, okay, all right, I can get behind that. But for every rule, there's an exception. Gruden would be that exception. I would throw my TV out if that is him, because I think that would be such a knee-jerk reaction of just him going on social media, and he loves everything. He loves everybody. I don't think he would be serious about it. I think he would want the money. He's just here for a paycheck. And I think we got to move away from that.
Well, and the ones that have, because there's still some on Twitter that are hanging on to the Gruden angle on this whole thing. And my argument against it on why it's not is, why wouldn't it have been announced then?
Yeah.
Why would they not have said that John Gruden was going to be the next coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks? He's not tied to any school. He could come start recruiting immediately. So why wouldn't they have already announced John Gruden as the head coach at Arkansas if he was? It's because he's not.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be. It's just one of those that there's nothing to stop them or stop him from signing that contract right now if it was put in front of him. So why hasn't he done it if he's the guy? Why hasn't he been introduced yet? Why isn't he out recruiting already? Well, I mean, there's a number of whys to this that I don't get why sometimes I feel like folks are posting it just to get the attention, and then that attention seeking or whatever, folks read it and they see a large following, 5,000, 7,000 followers on Twitter, whatever the case is. They're like, oh, he's got a bunch of followers. He knows something. And then they jump on board. It doesn't make sense on why it wouldn't be announced if John Gruden was going to be the head coach.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just, again, I think it's the fatigue of how long this has been going on and how long, he was the first coach fired. So, and a lot of people was on the Franklin thing, him going there because of the family. I mean, I don't know. It's hard when you bring family into a situation that Arkansas whiffed. If that's where his family wanted him to go, you got to go with. I mean, that's and it is easier path in the ACC than the SEC. I mean, everything lines up. I think going from Penn State to Arkansas would have been a lateral move for him. You're coming to a similar situation in a different conference. Penn State, talking about, they're always in the hunt, but you could get Arkansas into the hunt for the college football playoff, but could you get them to the peak? At Virginia Tech, you're getting the money. There was talks of Arkansas didn't have any kind of plan at that point in time of what they were going to do NIL wise, or they couldn't say this money wise. So maybe they did, in a sense, whiff, because now we're hearing more money talk. We're hearing more money talk since the Franklin news went out, and they really had to regroup and say, well, we can't just go get our guy until we know we have the money, because it is different.
Well, it's funny too, and this is my last little bit on James Franklin and that whole thing is there was the talk on that Arkansas was close. There was salary figures, there was NIL figures thrown out, there was this, that, and the other. There was then those up on the hill on that morning radio show that was basically telling us all and the people that were reporting on it that James Franklin was never a choice, that it wasn't going to happen, that it was never on the table, that it was this, that it was that. But then on the flip side, you're hearing from, other sources 24/7, some walk and talks with Biddy and others, that James Franklin, that they were asking questions about Arkansas stability, which obviously that has to do with, the athletic director, NIL, everything that comes with it. And so it just is surprising to me that on one hand, you've got the mouthpieces of the University of Arkansas saying that this was never a thing. And then you have others that are still close to the university. And I feel like they report a little bit more truthfully, and a little bit more they're allowed to share their opinions a bit more, saying that this was a thing. I don't think it's necessarily that Arkansas whiffed when it comes to offers and NIL and things of that nature. I think that maybe some of the instability within the athletic department does play a factor in this.
Yeah.
You have an athletic director that's got one foot in, one foot out the door, whether he wants to admit that or not. And that, I think that can come into play in some of this. You don't know who your boss is going to be in a year, and maybe a head coach doesn't want to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of drama going on. And then you have, like I said, Hunter going on Sports Center or whatever and talking and just totally embarrassed himself, but you still have those backing him. It baffles me. You listen to the ones that still think he's good for this university, and that they're either getting paid or they're being told what to say, because anybody else with a sound mind is telling you we need to move away from that situation. And unless he's at the point that he don't care because he knows he's not going to be at Arkansas at the end of the year, we don't know. We hadn't heard anything about that. And it's crazy because that just shows you where Arkansas is. That's not even being talked about because we don't know where this program is going to be come January. We don't know who the head coach is yet. And I hope we find out soon, because, again, I have a feeling if some of these other names, say Summerall does go to Auburn, say Golish stays at UFS, it's going to start causing panic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot of people starting to panic. And the more panic there is, the more limelight that needs to be on that name to calm people down. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, the next few weeks could be fast and furious for us fans. So
Yeah.
I hope it happens sooner than later. And, it's one of those things. I'm just ready to hear a name at this point so that we can go to the next step.
Yeah. And we'll wrap things up. I know we teased it in the beginning, but yes, there's I don't know what any other reason that the LSU band would be in Arkansas the week of Thanksgiving. But they will be. So that leads me to go into, is the Arkansas LSU game going to be played Thanksgiving week? I don't think it's going to be Black Friday. From the info I gathered, the band arrives on Friday, Saturday, and they'll be gone on Sunday. So that leads me to believe it's going to be a Saturday game. So, but they will be in the state of Arkansas the week of Thanksgiving in 2026. So for all those ones, you're thinking, yes, they've always played the Missouri game, but they're going to this 9-game schedule. So they're going to have to, move around the schedule and who plays when and where to make sure that all these things happen. So it kind of checks out. I was talking to Hutch today about it and getting their thoughts. They'll have an article out. They've already got one out about it. So our thoughts align with it truly happening. The official schedule doesn't come out till December, I don't think, but I have a I'm very strong feeling from the info I seen firsthand that they are going to be moving this game back to Thanksgiving week. And I know it don't mean much now because of how everything's going, but that's the one thing that fans want. They want that LSU game Thanksgiving week because it's been proven you always play them tough, and no matter how bad the teams are doing, it's always an electric game. I think if you replace the LSU game with that Missouri game, you talk about even if you're having a down season and you beat LSU, it means more than this borderline trophy. That,
I mean, I'm all for it. We're going to play Missouri regardless. It's one of those things. I would just rather it not be the last game of the year in the spotlight because it's one of those. Losing to LSU just feels different than losing to Missouri, and I'm just tired of Eli Drinkwitz and the Missouri Tigers being the way our season ends. So it is what it is. But a lot of folks will be happy. You'll still have your people that want it to be on Black Friday and not the Saturday. At the same time, take it as a little win.
Yeah,
that we're getting that game back as potentially the last game of this regular season.
What'd be even crazy is, that borderline trophy kind of loses its lackluster, but you take their head coach and you take it into the battle of the boot.
That'd be funny. I don't know. Eli Drinkwitz is just a thorn in everybody's side. So,
hey, if you can't beat him, join him.
Next head coach. I'm joking. I would. If you want to get me to stop watching Arkansas football, hire Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh, goodness gracious. But hey, look, all these names are being thrown out. Why not throw out Eli? Why not just throw him? He's going to be the head coach next
Well, that did come to mind when there was somebody that posted that GIF of the tap water dripping because, DP over on Hog HQ likes to call him Eli Drinkwater. So I was just like, oh, there's a water reference. So maybe it's going to be him, but it's definitely not going to be Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah. Adam, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Hog Talk podcast. Next week, we will not, of course, be going live on Thursday. We're going to transition it to Wednesday and next week. We'll have our show on Sunday, HQ Live, 8:05. We'll be on 6:05. So Arkansas plays Jackson State tomorrow. Then, of course, the Texas game on Saturday. So plenty to talk about. And I'm sure the more names get thrown out, we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about that as well. But for Adam Hall, I'm Porter Hayes. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Hog Talk podcast. Please don't forget to go like, subscribe, download the podcast. Rules and stuff are changing. They want downloads. They want likes. They want follows. So please, even if you don't, just hit the subscribe button. It will download every time. Really helps us out. But for Adam, Porter, we'll catch you on Sunday.